Yeah, that's how
That's this one was. A lot of people sort of get here. It's extremely cheap.
You say El Paso and Corpus?
Do you want to talk?
Would you tell if somebody's coming from Corpus?
Like voices.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's right. It's like
Yeah, and then there's yeah, and like there's some college that said she's going to bring some of the journalist students for the paper.
And then there's States bringing how many? Somebody.
Yeah, from Houston. Yeah.
We're gonna have.
I'm thinking it sounds like we want to be loud and not just all that until right before, be quiet, and then let people talk individually afterwards.
like I think we should. Sorry,
I don't want to be loud and obnoxious afterward at all. I don't know what everyone else is thinking about that, but I'd rather be loud one person at a time afterward, where it's way more personal.
I think that maybe loud and obnoxious, that kind of thing is kind of the wrong way to frame it. I think after the individual speakers talk, maybe we could do a chant, the whole world is watching. That's a chant that we do a lot, where we all say the whole world is watching this.
I think
that's a way that's respectful and not like too political, but it's saying, and not too obnoxious, but it's saying like, this just happened and the whole world can see it, and there are people from all over the country here that are represented.
That'd be good to wrap it up.
I think that'd be great. It'd be especially appropriate for this kind of situation where we are from all over the country.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I understand because I want to be able to see everybody. I'm kind of listening to what everybody said, taking notes, and these wonderful people asked me did I have an opinion, and I thought it funny, because of course I do have an opinion, and I ironic that since I've been here, the cameras, the reporting, nobody's asked me how I felt, and being that, first of all, I want to commend all of you for being here. I think it's a beautiful thing. I really do. But if we look around, being that 90% of the people that are being executed are black and Hispanic, plus should be filled with black and Hispanic people. It should be outraged with what's going on in our communities, But you don't see it. I'm the one here. And I just thought that in that time I've been, nobody that, hey, what do you think? I'm the guy who grew up, one out of three guys that I grew up with was in the penitentiary, was been to the penitentiary. There were two guys that either have a drug problem or don't probation or something, or other. I've lived this, experienced this, And I sit back and I listen to what everybody's saying, I'm just gathering, taking notes, take it all in. And again, I commend you all, but I believe that God has put us all. I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are and all that, and I'm not trying to get into that. But I believe that God has put us all here for a reason. We're all on this bus not by chance and not by coincidence. It's by design. I believe that. I truly believe that in my heart. I've lived in this skin for 42 years. I've never been incarcerated. This is the first time I've ever been to a penitentiary. All this was to see that type of situation happen. But I think that we should all move in the spirit. Let the spirit moves. If you're comfortable with the bullhorn, then being loud, then do that. If you're comfortable with being silent, be silent. I don't see where let the spirit move you, because you talked about when we get there and it actually happens, you don't know how you're gonna react. You don't know. You may feel down or something. You may not want to say anything. She's saying it. She may not feel that way at the time. So why don't we let God work with it? Don't get me wrong. I think what we're doing is excellent organizing, and I think what she said at the bar just now, how she wanted to participate in the world is watching. I think that's excellent time to protest or something to say to get attention. But what we're doing organizing is great, because we do need to have a plan. But for the most part, I think that let the spirit move. We need to be factual, and we need to have integrity. Because I heard you guys say, we don't want to look like a bunch of fools out there. Just out there speaking and say, let's do it down. We want to carry ourselves with a certain amount of integrity. We want to carry ourselves with some dignity. We want to come out there and look at tell like some stupid fool. And when we grab that bull, whatever we do, chat, whatever, we want to appear to be intelligent. We want to come out and we want to show that our hearts go out to the victim. Our hearts go out to the person that's being executed. We want to express that we're not. They're just pawns in this. They actually have nothing to do with the bigger picture. We're not here to condemn anybody. we're here for justice. That's what we're here about. So we need to really take hold of that and just really like I said, let the spirit move us. And the integrity thing, I just feel strongly about that. We need to display some integrity while we're out there, and stick with the factual information. We have studies that show that can support that the death penalty is racist. Not only on racial lines, but on that socioeconomic line. We need to stick to those things when we are talking. Stick to the facts, the things that we have support and that nobody can deny. And I think, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I just sat back and I listened when they asked me, how do you feel? I felt, I needed to stand up and say something. And I appreciate y'all for listening to what I have to say. Thank you, and that's about all I have for you.
Thank you. I'm really glad this has happened, like this conversation, because it's a really important lesson. Like, this is 95% of ethics. The majority of it is not people doing something. It is meetings, it is sitting in rooms, it is fighting, it is worrying about money, paperwork, who can make copies, who had box,
Unfortunately,
it is, it's like any other endeavor. There's a lot of stuff along with it, but it's the most important part, because it's what makes what happens in the streets compelling, organized, and effective. So, there's a lot of people I know who hearts are in the right places, but the only thing they can really get into is the actual on the streets, and they don't show up to the meeting.
It's great that there's people like that, though.
Right.
But because the rest of us are planning and organizing. They might be off doing their thing or whatever, but if they come to the actions that we've organized,
it's good. It's important, yeah. But there's no movement without the boring stuff, without the awkward stuff. So yeah, I'm glad this discussion happened. It's great.
It's almost kind of surreal because back home our embassy group, there aren't that many people who are really super involved and wanting leaders. And it feels like everyone here is dedicated to this thing, and everyone wants to have their opinion. Everyone has a way to think they should do, which is great because it shows how much leadership there is around the country, in Austin and for the movement. So it's good that we're all here and we're all so dedicated. We all have our own ideas and things that we want to get done. But then, like you're saying, we need the other people who are going to come and just be there with us. So there's so much behind the scenes stuff that goes into it that it's great that we're all part of it.
So, where do we go from here? We call Christina to just speak afterwards.
I think it might be worthwhile if whoever talks to her to find out and maybe what the family feels, if there's something that they'd like to have done for their sons too. I think that would be worthwhile.
I think it's her primary responsibility today is to the life of the man that's being executed. So I'm not sure. I know Christina, she'll be with us, but it might not be what she needs to be doing at 6:30. Because that person, whoever it is, they're going to barricade they just went to, and I think they might want to get out of there.
So maybe we should just decide she's going to kind of.
I think the family is just because it's like their husband, their son, or being need to be respectful.
But
I don't think we need this family to speak. I think what we need is just their opinion.
Well, I don't think they're going to have the emotional strength or energy to even have a conversation with us of this importance magnitude. I don't think they're going to talk. Yeah, I don't think that we should.
Or at least get Christina's, because she's been through this before.
I'm gonna call Christina real quick.
Okay.
Are there any other things?
Yeah, you guys, it's you gotta be quite woke in this, because it has a saying thing where you have to say something, and every time you talk, sorry, invalid choice.
Hi, my name is Brian McCann. I'd like to speak to CEO Steve Hyland. I had some questions to ask about water issues, Fourth World Water. Hi, I was hoping to speak to Steve Hyland, but I just wanted to talk about a variety of issues I'm concerned about with control over water and Pepsi's participation in the Fourth World Water Forum in Mexico City.
Fantastic.
Which would you like first? Name and address?
Hi, I'm Jackson Smith from Boise, Idaho, and I have a message for.
My name is Brian, B-R-Y-A-N.
I'm calling as Senator Specter to support McCain's immigration reform, which provides for citizenship, recognized families.
You should call your senator and ask him to let him TV into the UT.
East 40th Street, number 204.
Yeah, just
Austin, Texas.
Water to profit driven, a lot of these misleading commercials about water rent basically, I'm not by water into commoditization from rich people that basically in terms of people's lives in the state. Water, a lot of stuff is Sudan, that's like 3 students in Sudan. So if you guys
This is just customer service.
translating justice and respecting people's water rights.
All right, thank you very much.
Programming is like quality stuff, and then we'll also have celebrities and stuff on and give students like 50 minutes where like a student gets to interview their favorite celebrity.
Does that be like a regular one, like pick up and stuff?
Some, yeah, they just, like on Sunday we had a 2-hour block.
Okay, my street address is 63.
Everybody ready? My name is Caroll Pickett. I'm a Presbyterian minister, have been since 1952, which means I've been involved in the ministry for years, and 54 years. The main ministry that I developed into, and which has been my ministry afterwards, has been the working at the death penalty and at the death house. I spent 16 years at the Walls unit, and when the state of Texas and the United States decided to start with having executions after they had been declared cruel and unusual back in the 60s. They decided in the 70s they would have another go at trying to get something legal so they could handle it and start killing people. Let me, before I start, let me show you this is the book that I've written. You're in with the blue. That's the United Kingdom version. That is the accurate picture of the death house. The American version, we couldn't get the death house picture exactly right. I don't know what country that is or where it's from. And then another book over here is one from Germany. The European version came out from Germany. And then there's another book here that's not mine, but I use it a lot because it asks the question, who owns death? And that was a question that I had to face when I was at the prison. Because I was raised to believe that killing people was okay. But my grandfather was murdered. My grandfather was murdered when my father was 12 years old. That was in 1970. And my father raised all of his children, 6 of us, to believe that you had to be bitter and you had to do all the dirty things that do people. And I have several brothers who are very, very strong in one attitude about the death penalty. And then I used to be that way and I changed. Have you ever watched anybody die? Have you ever watched anybody be murdered? Have you ever watched a man who is in great healthy shape being murdered? How many of you have ever felt the pulse of a human being who had nothing physically wrong with them? And somebody by virtue of a court or a judge or a jury say, kill him. I use the term kill. I used to use the term kill. But some of you might remember that at the beginning of the death penalties with Charlie Brooks back on December 7, 1982, the death certificate came out was overdose of drugs, which didn't mean a whole lot. Then they changed that to a new certificate of death signed by the state of Texas, which down in the bottom corner says there are 6 causes of death. And it says here, natural, accident, suicide, and homicide being investigated cannot be determined. Then the state of Texas, representing all of us, began to check that box which says homicide. So Texas admitted, by signing this document, by a justice of the peace, a doctor who was there, and also the funeral director who picked up the body, that we admitted that we were committing a crime called homicide. I've spoken in many places about this. I spoke at 2 law schools, and they said, well, there's a difference between homicide and murder. Well, there's not a whole lot of difference to that one that's lying on the table. When he's being put to death, and he's put to death. I changed my whole attitude after visiting with these inmates. I was with 95 inmates who were put to death. The first inmate or human being, anybody killed in America with a lethal injection was done over here at the Walls Unit. I lived 50 feet away from the execution chamber, but I had to go into it, didn't even know it was there for the first 2 years I was working at the prison. But then we were all called together and told we were going to execute a man by the name of Charlie Brooks on December the 7th. We had to dump a program. We didn't have, nobody knew about it. Nobody in the world, to our knowledge, had been executed under this manner. So we had to start from scratch, from the very beginning. We had to figure out a way to do it the best way. Nobody knew how a person was going to react to those 3 drugs. And everybody was scared to death. The warden was scared, we were all scared. My responsibility, according to the warden, was just simply, he said, I'm going to use his words, I want you to seduce his emotions so he won't fight. The worst thing about, probably one of the worst things, we don't want anybody to fight. Coming out of that cell, or crawling up on the table. And all the time I was there, not one single person fought coming out of the cell, and not one single person fought getting up on the gurney. It's happened since then. It's happened many times, many more times than you know. It's happened out at the unit on death row. They've had difficulty getting people out of their cells. I was with one that was brought in, he wouldn't leave his cell. And we were all prepared, and so we had to wait till they could get their riot gear and get everything on, so he would, he finally came in. One of the things that I always believed was being totally honest with these people. So after things got taken care of, the legal part and all, I said, you know, Ronald, I just want to ask you a question. Why did you fight coming out of the cell? He said, well, because I heard all these things about what happened in all these rumors. And there were rumors all over death row. One of the big rumors that I heard probably 50 to 25 times is, they don't really treat you good in there. But one of the things, that there's nothing else you can learn today, is that we're dealing with people. These are human beings who have family, who have friends, who have relatives, who have kids. And all these rumors are built around just to scare. Like the rumor that he was afraid of, and I heard this before, was that we really actually don't put them to death. That at the Walls Unit, they throw them out in a creek right behind it. There is a creek behind it. But this didn't take place. That never was. There was rumors that he wouldn't get a last meal. That wasn't true. Another one was told that they were only going to inject a certain amount of drugs and it wouldn't be enough to kill him. He'd heard all these things, and that was his fear. When he got into the unit, I explained to him all the way through it, and he settled down, and for all that time that we were together, he was a totally different person. He was not afraid to die at that particular time. What do we want to do with this program of the execution of people? Let me just throw you out some facts and things that I went through. And the 95 who died, plus 40 more who came in and got staged. There was one man who came in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and he got his stage. He went up back and forth in the courts, and I was with him till 6:20 the next morning. His name was Leonel Herrera. You can look it up and you can see about Leonel Herrera. He did not get executed that first time. He came back about a year later, and we went through the same process that we always did. And finally all the stages were stopped, and Leonel was executed at 3:20 the next morning. Did you know that the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Leonel Herrera that innocence was not a reason for stopping an execution. He didn't commit the crime. We know who committed the crime. That's one of the big things that's growing among many of us is that many of the people, and I believe it's going to grow and grow and grow, who have been put to death in Texas have been innocent. Our former governor, who is now president, made a statement in Dallas. He said, every person who has been executed in Texas pulled the trigger. That's when he was governor. That wasn't true then. And he knew it. Doyle Skiller never pulled the trigger. And everybody knew it. He did, but Robert Black did not pull the trigger. Yes, he paid somebody else to kill his wife, and technically he was legally responsible. But to say that everybody who pulled the trigger, when we executed 2 brothers in the same month, the second brother, he was not even a part of the crime. He was there, but he was put to death. He didn't pull the trigger. And there have been many more like that. There are some that are going to come out in the next 6 months in our state that we believe, we know, we have found the real person who committed the crime. But these people are dead. You can read about Cantu. I was with Cantu when he was put to death. I have visited with the district attorney about him. That boy was no more guilty of being put to death of any crime. He wasn't even near where the crime was taking place. But this is true across the system. There are a lot of people on our unit who are convicted. If you want to get convicted, they're going to get you. They're going to get you, whoever they want you. Let me tell you, there's certain things about the death penalty that I'm watching. First of all, the death penalty is a racially motivated problem. Now, you might hear from a group of people in Houston called Justice for All. Forget them. The lady that runs that, I have met with her, I have sat with her on panels, and every time I make a statement, she calls me a liar. And I can pull out the figures. I can say, look, it's right here. There it is, right there. You know, I got to make a statement that there were so many black people being killed in a picture too. She said, no, that's not true. You're not telling the truth. Just look at the pictures. These are all people who were executed when I was there. All you have to do is look at the pictures. Look at that. Is that? Don't tell me that's not in there. These are facts. These are pictures that are given by TDC. So be careful who you listen to. All I want people to do is to think. I learned to think. I just want you to think about what is this for, and what is it doing. You're a victim. Everybody in this room is a victim. Every one of you is a victim. People in foreign countries, they don't trust us. Why don't they trust us? You know why. They think that Texas is a cruel. I've been of Europe. I've been interviewed by probably 300 different times with people from Europe and Great Britain, and I've done some more with South Africa and many in South America. And they just don't understand why this country, who wants to be a big country, to solve everybody's problems, can't stop killing its own people. They don't understand. And I don't understand that. Also, we're punishing a lot of poor people. Poor people, they don't have them. There was a man who lived about 70 miles from here. When he was born, he was supposed to be delivered by a midwife. He didn't. The midwife didn't show up, so they called another person. And he came in, and the midwife that delivered him was a male, and he was drunk. And this fellow, he was delivered, and they threw him in the dirt. And this kid never recovered from that. He never recovered from that. He was just a poor fellow, lived in a poor neighborhood, never grew up. You can look in this book, which is actually material that comes out And you go through and read this, look at their education levels. Education level, I'm just reading here, 4 years. 4 years. 6 years. 7 years. 10 years. 8 years. 12 years. You know how many people have been executed in Texas who got a college degree? Anybody got an idea?
No.
None.
One. He was a lawyer out of Fort Worth. He was a lawyer, and I was with him. And he shot and killed several judges in Fort Worth. He had a college degree. He had his LLD, and he was a qualified lawyer. That's the only person Texas has killed in the death house that was really educated. The rest of them have been educated. I had there was one judge, one lawyer in Houston, right down the highway here, that was assigned 19 cases, 19 death row cases. And while I was there, I was with 16 of those who were executed. What kind of equality is that? You know, you've heard about it, he sleeps through trials. And he'd come up here and he'd visit with them on the last day, the last afternoon, when they could do it over there. And he would just tell them, you know, I gave you the best I got. You don't give anything the best you got. You hire, you pay him $25,000, and you don't get good representation. But there's one lawyer was responsible for 16 people being put to death. 16 out of 19. That is not a good lawyer. That's where one of the things in that book, Who Owns Death? Judges own death, bad lawyers own death, and appeals are on death. We talk about the death penalty condemns innocent people to die. You know, we're dealing now with a young man. Cantu is one that's popular now. There have been over 120 who've been released throughout the United States off of death row. I'm working now with Illinois, the Chicago Tribune, some other people up there about that state. We're working with other people who believe the same thing, and I've been with young men, particularly kids. Anybody here 17 years old? Are you 17?
Yeah.
You think you're old enough to be put to death? No. We've done a lot of 17-year-olds. We've done too many 17-year-olds. And the international community thinks that we're wrong. And we are wrong. It's against international law. It's against international law also to execute mentally retarded. We've executed mentally retarded. We've done some that didn't even know what's going on. And the law says if they don't know what they're going through or what they're facing, the execution should be stopped. Every night, at 10 o'clock at night, I would explain to them what the process was going to be. I would explain to them everything. You're going to hear these two telephones ring, in the next room, one's going to be the governor, one of them's going to be the attorney general, and then basically at 12 o'clock, I'll say, it's time to go. And we'd go inside. And I would explain to them how many straps they would have on, how many needles, what they would go through. And you know, some of those people, after I would spend 30 minutes explaining to them what would happen to them, they were going to die, and when the body would be taken out, and get them to fill out a paper to say who gets their body, they would ask me the question, okay, when do I go back to death row? They didn't have any concept of being put to death. One guy came in to be executed, and you know what he wanted to play with? And I mean play with. Someone bring in books, someone bring in writs. This fellow brought in Crayolas and a coloring book. He had no concept. What kind of a person would commit a crime, kill somebody, and decide to escape the highway patrol by riding on a bicycle? I mean, all of you are smarter than that. There's no bicycle in the world that can outrun the highway patrol in Texas. But this boy has nothing up here. You know, his IQ is at least 50, not above 50. We've just got so many people that just don't understand. They don't have the education and they're not educated. But we go ahead and we kill them. We kill them. You know, people say, well, it's a deterrent to crime. Don't pay any attention to that. The only person it deters is that one person. Let me just show you facts. These are facts. That's what I want people to understand. Just think. You know, don't listen to that lady in Houston. She's mad. She's been angry all her life. Don't pay attention to her. If you talk to her, she'll tell you to shut up, and I've heard that from her. I was sitting between a Monsignor from the Catholic Church and a bishop from a Lutheran church, and I was the one here, and she was right next to me, and she was calling us all fabricators for the truth. She called something else. This was when I went to work at the prison in 1980. This was the number of people on death row. All right? How many does that look like to you? 22. Right. Well, it's just barely out of 20. It's 18. You got 18. What? Okay. While I was there, we executed 95. So that means we put to death. And when I left, this was the list dated July the 25th, 1995, just before I did my last 3 executions. This is after we have done 95 executions. This is the quote, deterrent. See me on death row in 1995? All those, all these, oops, missed a page. Another page, another page. I could go on and go on and go on. There are close to 400. Since execution started in Texas, the death row population has grown from a handful to over 400. And we've killed almost 400 already. I don't know what this one is tonight, what number he is.
360.
What?
360.
Okay, they're getting pretty close. But it's not a deterrent. It deters only that one person. And you can just look at the facts that as this state grows, when I started we had just a few, and death has they're gone. It's not a deterrent to crime. The mentally ill are being put to death. We put a man to death, a young man. I visited with his mother for a long time. He had no concept even where he was. He'd been mentally ill all his life. The state of Texas took control of him, didn't take care of him, didn't give him any medication, didn't care about him. The death penalty also is, contrary to a lot of people's opinion, is against moral law. It says in the law, when you're convicted, you've got to prove that you are a deterrent to future crimes. There's no way in the world Caroll Tucker was a problem in the future. You put somebody in prison for 20 years, they're not a problem. That one particular girl, I was not with her when she was executed. We made all the arrangements through mail and through communication. And she kept getting stays. But if they had never used the term pickaxe and just looked at that person, the Board of Pardons and Paroles does not look at people. They look at events. We need to get back to that. And also, let me just say, the death penalty is not painless. I used to think that. But there's a lot of kids, and I call them kids because I'm old now, younger there. That hurts. There's that psychological. When they bring them into the death house, they know that when they walk through that door, that's it. I was always the first person they saw. And I was with them till the day, till the minute, till the second they died. And it's painful to them. You know, we used to have a little hole in the window. so bad when the sun went down. We had I put up a little piece of cardboard. And that's a little thing, but it bothers me. The injection of needles does not always go smooth. It doesn't go. And I have seen a lot of them. And as it says in my book, there's one kid that I will never forget that those injections did not work on him. And it hurt me really bad. He didn't have a father. The longer we stayed together all day long, he started calling me Daddy. Daddy. I had a son the same age. And that first sodium tripentothal didn't go to work. He kept looking at me with those big old brown eyes. And I don't know what he was thinking. Was it, did you betray me? Did you lie to me? Whatever, it hurt. It hurt to watch the kid. Then that second drug started, and I always put my right hand on her leg. It was just something they wanted to do back to the beginning. They wanted contact. There's nobody inside that room but the warden and he and I. And I could feel their pulses stop. And some of them stopped with the first one. Some of them didn't stop the second. Now, that second drug is forbidden to be used by the American Veterinary Association. There's an article that came out, why don't we bring the quality of human beings up to the quality of animals? It's called Pabulon. But we don't know what happens to people. They've done tests and tests. They've not. I've been with guys, they didn't die. They didn't die with that first drug. And that second one, they were having some type of problem. I don't know what that was. But I do know that blade was moving. Of course, the third drug, potassium, that would stop anybody. That would just stop anybody. The people that I believe that the death penalty is cruel and unusual punishment because it affects all of us. Look at all the employees that have quit. We are running employees through that mill over there. So many of the good guys that I work with, they quit. They quit. They had nervous breakdowns. There were a lot of them that would sit down there and they would get sick and we have to take them out and bring in another set of guards. The wardens don't stay very long. They can't take it. There are many people. Some of the executioners, where are they? We made a study of the people who committed over causing the injection. They're not around. Many, many people have left. You got to be real hard-hearted to watch young men being killed. They lie very, very, very still. There are many people. I have been with boys who had nervous breakdown. I used to do therapy, counseling, and I'm not a therapist, I'm just a minister. Every Tuesday night, every night, Tuesday night, for those who participated in issues. We're all victims. And a lot of people hurt. Anybody have any questions?
I was just wondering, because of what you just said, do you suffer from nightmares? Do you ever dream about this stuff? Does it haunt you sometimes?
Absolutely. I had a triple bypass 4 months after I quit. The doctor said that was from stress. 2 years later, I had a stent come in. He said it was from built up stress. 6 months after that, I rearranged all the furniture in my office. I just fell. And they rushed me to the hospital and I was 2 pints low of blood. And I was bleeding, the doctor said. I had 3 ulcers. He said, you've probably been bleeding for about 8 to 10 years. He said, this came from stress. And that's what he told me. I had been there.
But any nightmares? I mean, like the young man you was talking about that called you dad, do you see him in your sleep? Do you have times when things like that just somehow overwhelm you?
You can't forget. I could go through here and tell you a real story about every one of these. I haven't forgotten any of these. Some of these other guards, the guard workers, they're the same way. The young people, the ones that were nice guys, now there were some bad ones. I'm not saying they're all good guys. I'm not saying it. But some, you know the one that spit in my face just before he went in to be executed? I didn't like that. But I'll never forget it. I'll never forget those who sent letters to me that came after they were dead. You don't forget that. I've watched a lot of people die. But to watch people being killed who were healthy and I won't say young, because we didn't really anybody 78 years old like California did. A lot of people had bad dreams. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious to know what kind of relationship you have with maybe former colleagues or people who are still working in the prison system right now, if they respect the work that you're doing right now, or if there's been any conflict or strife that's come your way because of the work that you're doing.
Oh, I think you asked a good question. It's true. I still get along with a lot of people that I work with. You know, the warden and I got along real well with the first warden. The second warden was different. The third warden didn't last but 2 years, and he quit for the same reason I did. And he and I see each other periodically. We get along fine. There are a lot of people in the TDC system now who believe that book is a mistake. It's all true. They don't doubt the fact because there's not a thing that's not true. When we wrote that book, we had 3 lawyers in New York, 2 in Dallas, and 16 in Austin to be sure everything in there was accurate. But we weren't going to put anything in it. In this town, right now, I used to be minister of church right down here first. I was minister of church down this street from 1967 until I went to prison in 1980. I come back periodically to do funerals, weddings, things like that. They won't put it in paper. They won't use my name in paper. We did a special for National Public Radio, Witness to an Execution, that won a Cuba award. We were in New York to get the award for the people that produced it. But I had written most of it down here. And when they wrote it up in the local papers, they deliberately left out my name and the name of one guy who quit the prison. He had said he was wrong. I can get in. I used to get into the prison to visit all my friends.
Voices making some noise and letting the state of Texas know that we are not going to stand idly by as they execute their control over death and their reinforcement of everything we hate about this unjust society that we live in. Right. Justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Texas justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Texas justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Texas justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Texas justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Texas justice is a lie. Tommie Hughes should not die. Break the needle, smash the chair. Death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. Death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. Death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. Death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. Death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. The death penalty is not fair. Break the needle, smash the chair. The death penalty is not fair. Ow! Harry, Perry, you can't hide.
We charge you with homicide.
Harry, Perry, you can't hide.
We charge you with homicide.
Harry, Perry, you can't hide.
We charge you with homicide.
You're going from E to 1.
your back. We'll roll this room now.
Everybody, and thank you for coming. And I want to thank Representative Harold Dutton from Houston for sponsoring the event. And I also want to take a moment to talk about why I'm here and why this group in the front is here. We're from the Alternative Spring Break, the Anti-Death Penalty Alternative Spring Break. We've been in Austin since Monday attending workshops on different issues surrounding the death penalty and how to organize against the death penalty. And we come from all over the country. We have some people from Kansas City, and I'm from Idaho. And yesterday we went to Huntsville and we heard from a former death penalty death row chaplain, Mr. Pickett, and we also protested an execution in Huntsville. And today we're going to have Christina Lawson speaking. She's with Victims of Texas. She works with murder victim family members and execution victim family members. She's also on the board of the Texas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. And then Rennie Cushing will speak. He's from New Hampshire. He's the founder and executive director of Murder Victims Family Members for Human Rights. And then Audrey Lamb, who's a senior at the University of Oregon and is also involved with Murder Victim Family Members for Human Rights. And I think Rennie is going to begin speaking.
Thank you. I'm sorry we're a little late starting, but I'm actually very honored to be here. I feel privileged to be part of this alternative spring break, and yesterday having the opportunity to share time with all of you touched me a great deal. I look forward to taking the things that I've learned from you and hopefully being able to integrate that into my work. There's a paradigm, a widely held belief in our society that everybody who has had someone murdered wants the death penalty, that they need it for something called closure, and that as a consequence, our political leaders are under some kind of moral obligation to provide for this execution solution for victims of pain. And today we have a situation where in Texas and 36 other states, there is this peculiar institution called the death penalty. Well, the three of us up here don't fit the paradigm. All of us have lost a family member to homicide, and all of us oppose the death penalty. I come to this work because 18 years ago, there was a knock at my front door. My father answered it, and two shotgun blasts rang out and turned his chest into hamburger, killed him in front of my mother's eyes. So when I talk about what you do in the aftermath of killing, it's not an intellectual exercise, it's what I do every day, part of my life. One of the things that we need to acknowledge when we talk about the death penalty in this country is that the reason we have the debate, at least now, in year 2006, is because people are murdered. That's the sanction that we apply the death penalty for. And so one of the things that's important to me is to share with you the victim experience. Because I think it's important for all of us as we strive to fashion a society that does not have the death penalty, that we be aware of the needs that arise from homicide so that we can embrace those who are touched by it in a way other than replicating the violence that brought them to pain to begin with. And I have to say that, first of all, death is different. Death by homicide is different than any other deaths. In our society, we're conditioned to expect death to come, hopefully, in the night when we're about 100 years old, or maybe by cancer, or maybe by a tree will fall upon us. But for whatever reason, we expect death to come by forces beyond our ability to comprehend, the deity, if you will. When you're dealing with a homicide, though, it's a different kind of death because you realize that it's another human being, just like each one of us, who's made a conscious decision to be the life taker. And that sends you into, a different, it's a different type of contemplation that you have to have, because you can actually, in some way, you look inside yourself and you ask how it is that as a human being you could commit a homicide. And homicide's about power. It's about one person exercising ultimate power over another, obviously by killing somebody. but it's also about exercising power over those who love that person who was killed. And it's a very disempowering thing. So as a survivor, when you've had someone taken from you from murder, your whole world has been tossed. You know, your expectations that death will come by natural forces get thrown out, and everything about you becomes disengaged. And so from the moment of the homicide, for the survivor of that person, it's about trying to reclaim control, trying to reclaim power over their lives. And you know, I'll give you an example of why the death is different. I remember being with my father at the you know, a final moment when he was in the hospital alone, as he's on his journey, and wanting to take him to the funeral parlor. But at that moment, he was no longer my father. His body was a piece of evidence, and I had to wait until his body was taken to the, you know, to the medical examiner's office to be pickled and photographed and dissected and otherwise preserved for evidence at some future time. Death by homicide is different. The experience. I remember for me and my mother, several weeks after my father's murder, in mail, and there was an envelope inside of it with a score for transporting my father's corpse from the home to the hospital. And she said, you know, she's like, I can't believe I have to pay for Robert about that.
For the whole system, the whole state, all the south and all up here. Chaplain, Chabaz, a good friend of mine, and you come. I needed a priest, I had a priest available. Whatever they wanted.
Now, I mean, you're saying for that particular day, but when they're getting ready to die or the day before, I'm saying on a day-to-day basis, if he wanted, if I was locked up and I told you, I don't want to see you, I want a rabbi here that I can talk to for the rest of my time here, then what would happen?
I got him. I had a rabbi in Houston, who was always available. I had one of every religion that I knew about. There were 22 people who were on what I call my emergency call list. Whoever they wanted would make them comfortable, I'd get them.
Okay, I think we run out of time here. I want to thank Reverend Pickett for
Thank
coming
you.
out here. Anybody wants to get a book signed and buy one of his books, and he'll sign it. Make an autograph there if you want to. Other than that, let's head back to the class.
Jeez, how do you turn this thing off?
You see that great lady? What? Hey, Jackson, we make me one that says I can
Allison?
Roll the horn?
Yeah.
Where's she going?
Already down there? Is there a certain area where we're supposed to be?
What's that?
Is there a certain area where we're supposed to be?
Yeah, that's where those other ones are. You have to stay on this side of that yellow line.
I'm gonna get some more gum.
The yellow tape. Anywhere on this side is alright.
Just drive through that?
What's that?
We just drive along that
Well,
street?
yeah, we came in the wrong way. That's why they were making faces at us.
Where's the bus going? Is the bus leaving or
Bus
no?
is staying here.
Okay. It's in other side. Or it doesn't matter.
No. Every Robert gets one.
Is that the way it's supposed to work? It looks like the pipe is bigger than the
sign
size.
smaller than the size that they gave me. Told me it's going to be 3x4, but it's much bigger.
You got anything to tie it off on each side?
Yeah, I have.
You got rope or zip ties?
Jack.
There's some zip things on there, stakes.
You got some over there.
Oh, okay. Yes. That's too small for us, so you want to use it?
I think it's only a lot easier. If you just make a long pole that goes along the top.
You could link it together.
You tie it together so it hangs from the pole, and that way one person can pull back.
Scott, we have 8 of those now. Do we want more?
Well, I mean, this way, if the wind, everything, this thing is going to just push the sign.
Yeah, it's just going to be so bulky with this. It's really hard to use. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, so you're going to have to put another one on.
It'll be a lot easier.
Well, I mean, we can put one on the top and another one.
Yeah, even like that, but we don't need it so big and wide. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Some people, if can go ahead and grab signs and head on down there if you want.
Nice. Yeah. Are other people from other places making similar signs?
You might want to put something, if you're making signs from another state, you might want to put something about Texas in particular and how it...
Well, I'm going to have this on one side and then the Texas, that one on the other side.
That's cool.
Is that okay?
This is your deal.
So let's put them all over here. Which ones? Well, I mean, we can put the ones on the sides and still
we got
put the torch through it and then
we got one up here. You got a zip tie? Or you got that rope?
You know, Hooman, all you need is two people and they can hold it too, you know.
Yeah. What do you think about this?
I need to go grab that.
Put the
What's that?
here and here.
Which one do you want?
The big one. This one.
Just you can lay those down.
Can we like leave stuff here and come back and get it if we need to?
Yeah, ask the bus driver if he's going to stay in the bus.
Are you gonna make a sign? Are you gonna make a sign?
What?
For yourself.
I'm from San Antonio. That's in Texas.
You just have to lift like that.
I guess I should cut this through this and then bring it up.
Do you guys want to grab some of these and like...
Open it up, make sure like that. You can do it. Okay, well it needs to be brought over.
Last time I had it, yeah. Get one of those other
yeah, I don't know that. Right here.
Because I would feel like the feeling that is like we're intruding on like something.
I don't know.
I don't want to be the only one because I don't think so at all. What?
I don't think so. We are from Kansas.
You coming?
I think it's good and important to show people that you're from Kansas, that you came all this way just to protest the death penalty.
If you were just doing Kansas or I was just doing Idaho, it would be very effective. We have Kansas, Idaho, Oregon, and whatnot. That was my idea. But I'm not going to bring the sign.
I'm glad from like Connecticut or something.
What?
Hey, I'm from Connecticut.
We had someone from Connecticut.
Yeah, we don't say anything.
Yeah, I don't know where that went.
Sure, from Connecticut.
I think somebody else.
I got the marker.
He's got the marker.
We can make.
Not quite as hard as I
I know everybody else does. I mean, I'm kind of indifferent to it, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean,
Alright.
Kansas.
Yeah, just one of you has to do it.
Kansas is exactly like a bastard of liberal thought.
That's true. Big sign.
Hey, this is mine.
It's real on May 18th.
You made that one?
Yeah, that was my birthday.
No, we don't do it.
What do the rest of them say? Just like...
And hey, maybe you want to use one of these smaller ones for that. Hey, Sam. No, you see the banner you have in your hand? Yeah. Use like one of these too, like the same way we do for that banner. Oh, sure.
I haven't either, by the way.
So you're from Kansas, you came down to Kansas, walk me through the days, tell me like what's about to go on right now.
This morning, go down here, and have a plane session